All right, my love. Yeah, you're my love. Goodbye, you guys. I love you.
What is going on, YouTube? Patrick here. Here is my latest live thrifting video. Decided to start it off with some audio because I thought it was funny that the cat was meowing a little bit. Once again, our poor sick kitty was going to the vet, so didn't have a ton of time in the store again this week, but made the most of it. Definitely was able to have a little bit more time because I was actually there when we made the appointment, and made sure to tell my wife that I wanted to have it maybe a little later in the morning this time. Yeah, I know. It's funny though, right? It's funny. So at the Savers, this is Manchester, Connecticut. This has been the place where I've been the most lately, and headed to the back of the store like usual. That guy who I passed was really funny. I said, "Excuse me, coming over to your left," and he said, "Beep beep." But like instead of trying to focus on having funny clips in here, I figured I'd get right into some footage. Mostly DVD players back there again. This little shelf over here has been really interesting with all sorts of little electronics lately. So they've been doing a good job of keeping this full of stuff. So like usual, I'm going to fill up my cart with anything that looks interesting, and then I'll look it up later before deciding whether I want to buy it or not. And this has been working pretty well because it addresses the fear of missing out, right? I don't want to miss out on something else in the store. I'm really afraid that they're going to put out something really interesting and I'm going to miss it. So that's been what I've been doing to help combat that, which, right, we want to be having fun while we're doing this. I don't want to have a whole bunch of anxiety. So it's like, well, let's figure out a way to do that.
These would be great. They had the little dongles, but you're never going to find a dongle for it.
I have actually sold those Logitech wireless controllers for PlayStation 2 a number of times, and they sell very well. But of course, like I said, you're just not going to find the dongles. So put a couple things in my cart, headed over to the toys. There's been just a ton of toy cars and trucks and stuff over here lately. Not really my area of expertise. I know that there's probably some money to be made in there. And so I just headed over to the action figures. You can see I've sped it up a bunch. Most of there's just tons of bags of Legos. They must have gotten this huge lot of them in, and it just didn't make sense to be like showing you guys a bunch of Legos. The biggest interesting things I found here, there were some Skylanders there. I'm always going to check for some of the ones that I'm looking for. But there was tons of bags of Power Rangers toys actually. So I actually ended up putting a bunch of them in my cart just to see did it make sense. There's actually there's a Captain America there.
Hello. That's awesome.
I love to pick up vintage He-Man, so I made sure to grab him, put it in the cart. It looked like it was one of the more modern lines, but that was okay. A little bit more Skylanders here, but I didn't see anything that was really worth picking up. Not at $4 basically. You want to get those for more like a quarter a piece at the most. If you put them into bundles, then you can do pretty well with them. Um, but yeah, lots of Power Rangers. I wanted to look and see if any of those were going to be able to be put into big lots. And what I really found out while doing this research is, you can see there's another bundle of Power Rangers there, is if you have all 5 or 6 or 4, depending on the year, of that line's action figures, then that set's going to do really well. But if you just have a random lot of red or black or blue, then the prices were pretty low. I want to say it was like 25 cents a piece on eBay selling in bundles. So like maybe some money to be made there if you were able to get them like seriously cheap. But at $4 for maybe 4, 5, 6 figures, it's probably not a lot of meat on the bone. You're probably not going to make a lot of profit there. It's possible there's some niches inside of that line, like there might be a line that's really popular, or maybe a couple that are a little bit more on the rare side. You might be able to do pretty well with those. I can see another interesting figure down there that I'll put in the cart in a second. I'm always looking at the dinosaurs. I always am trying to see if I can find any of the Schleck dinosaurs or any of the Jurassic Park ones. Yeah, I've just picked up that Spider-Man from the bottom shelf. He looks like he's maybe like an Imaginext. Oh, this was interesting too. It's Halo themed, and it's like a Transformer. I think it might be like a knockoff or maybe third party. I'm not sure. I couldn't find much comps, and but I put it in the cart just to check it out. This was super interesting. back. This is a 1990s
Oh,
Zoid.
check this out. Oh.
I have sold those Speak and Spells a number of times, but you got to have the battery cover. Of course, you can get one, and sometimes they'll even sell without them, but they're not a ton of money. I want to say they're like $20, $30 the last time I sold one. So like, if you're gonna sell it, you may as well get one that's in better condition than this one was in. I like those Lego clocks, but there's not a lot of value there. I think in that condition he's worth about $5, but I still like them. I still think they're pretty neat. You can see lots of people out already looking. This guy was buying, looks like a whole bunch of trucks, right? Everybody's out with their certain niches. I think I found some pretty good stuff that I put in the cart there. That Zoids one that I was starting to talk about when I found the Speak and Spell is very interesting. As usual, come back to, I'm wondering if I should change my schedule actually. Come back on Monday and I'll show you what I bought on Saturday. This is going to get posted on Saturday, probably Saturday evening, and then I'll post what I purchased on Monday as a follow up. I don't know. I feel like I've had too many videos coming out like close together. I wanted to make sure and give you guys something to look forward to. Otherwise, it might get a little bit boring, waiting for me to post something new. Been trying to like manage posting content and generating content with like actually doing eBay work because I still gotta generate some stuff that way as well. Headed up to the case here, and couple interesting things in the case, but nothing really stood out. I love Nintendo 64 controllers, so it's neat to see those. They were priced at, I didn't quite catch it as I was watching this, but it was a little bit high. I want to say it was like $8, $9, $10, which is probably about what they're worth. You might be able to sell them individually for about $15 each on eBay. Let's see. Oh, they're $7. So maybe double your money if the sticks are tight. If not, then that's about what they're worth. Probably I'm not selling those controllers very often by themselves. I'm usually going to try and wait till I get myself a system. All right, so first lap around the store is done. Came over to look at the media. Of course, these guys are busy there, so I was like, well, I'll just move on, go take a look. I had a little bit of time, like I said, so wanted to go and check some places out. Didn't see any video games that I was like, oh my gosh, I got to go look at this immediately. So wasn't too worried about that. Headed over to these small electronics, and there actually was some really interesting cameras up on the wall today, and actually some camera lenses as well. So you can see I sped it up again just because the, I feel like it gets really hard to watch me go through each of these bags individually, taking time. Let me know down in the comments. Do you like it when I speed up the video, or do you think I should just let it run and let you guys look at all the different things as in like real time? Happy to do it either way. But like I said, there was actually some cameras. There's a little digital camera there. My rule for digital cameras is they have to be at least 12 megapixels. And then also, usually if I can see the model number, I'm going to look it up before committing to buy. I had done some research a few years ago, just trying to figure out like what makes sense, right? How do I decide if I should buy a digital camera or not? And that was the easiest thing I could come up with was just, is it a 12 megapixel or higher camera? That's my like baseline for even looking at it. Anything else, I'm probably not going to look at, especially not for those point and shoot models. So you can see I found a couple some interesting things there. That was a camera lens, and somebody had already opened it up. I'm assuming that if they opened it and looked at it, that it wasn't going to be in great shape, maybe have some mold in it or something. So I didn't even bother. I just left it there on the shelf. What was funny was, as I was looking in a different part of the store, somebody came up to me and because they saw those cameras in my basket and asked me if they could take a look at them, and they actually had those lenses. So it's possible I made a mistake. I don't really know. I saw this accordion down here, this toy accordion, and it's interesting enough that I was like, this is gonna go on the cart for a while. And then something up on the top shelf up there is catching my eye. It ended up being an upper deck baseball card like collector set. And I definitely was like, I'm very interested in finding out what this is. It looked like it might have been sealed. It was not. So I was definitely, oh, it's tops. It wasn't even upper deck. For some reason, I thought it was upper deck. Uh, Very interesting, just not a lot of value. If it had been sealed, probably a little bit more. All right, so you guys know I love to go to the mugs and look at them. I love Star Wars too, so really neat to see that Star Wars mug there. I'm definitely more of an original trilogy fan than the new stuff, but all Star Wars stuff does hold a nice place in my heart. I really just have an affinity for the whole franchise, and of course I have my favorites and I have some favorites, some I don't like as much, but I'm not hating on any of the movies. You saw me glance at the plates there. I'm trying to learn more about that stuff. Maybe I'll dive into that more during the summer this year. All right, headed back to the kitchen stuff because you guessed it, I'm looking for Nordicware. I can see a little popover pan there that's pretty interesting that I totally missed. That is pretty funny, Patrick. And you can see there's lots and lots of pans here. And one of my friends was telling me today, she was like, well, for some of these pans, you really can't tell just by looking at them. You almost have to pick them up. And that's actually a really good point. I don't tend to do that. I tend to just use my eye and trust my judgment. And maybe I need to spend a little bit more time going through them in the future. Maybe I'll find a couple hidden gems. All right, so around the corner from the kitchen stuff there is all of the little kitchen devices. And I watched a couple other videos this week that bread makers are getting hot. So I did a little bit of research and found that that is actually pretty true. Oh, there's another digital camera. That's the first thing I did was look to see, is it new and what is the megapixel on it? And you can see I put it right back. But bread makers, apparently during this whole pandemic thing, bread makers are getting pretty popular. So then, of course, I'm going to look into here and see if it's all there. And surprisingly, this one had the paddle inside. It had the instructions. It had the little bread pan. So I made sure to look it up. I turned it around, find out what the model is, and made sure to look it up. This was funny. That had been in the case up front for like a month and just had not sold. And then, of course, now they put it out on the shelf, probably for the same price. I had bought my wife one of these little choppers, but it's hand operated. So I've been like, maybe I should try and get her one of these more electric versions. I don't know. I may end up just buying her one brand new, but I was like, I'll at least check this thing out. I think it was like $5 or $6. And the problem is probably they're not that much more brand new either. So it's like I don't know if it's worth it to try and buy a used one that's going to be not that much better. And you may have a dull blade, you may have a motor that's worn out on it. There you go, $5.99. So I was like, you know what? I'll probably end up just buying her a brand new one, which doesn't really fit in with a lot of my goals of trying to recycle stuff and trying to make sure and utilize things. But for the wife, you got to do happy life, happy wife, something like that. She's glaring at me over the camera right now. I love these little rotisserie ovens. Um, what you got to do though is you saw me look at the model number on the back. Some of the models are going to be much, much more desirable than others. That one was a 4,000 model, and there's definitely money to be made there. It might be a good like local sale. Problem is, I already have two of those that I haven't listed yet, so I'm not buying any more until I sell those two. That's kind of going to be my rule with those. They're a little bit bigger, they're bulkier, right? There's a lot of broken stuff on them. Something caught my eye over there. There's all these like locking and doorknobs, and I was like, I am very interested in taking a look at these. I'm not sure why I didn't just go around to the other side, but it was certainly interesting. I definitely would have spent a lot more time going through all of these, but
These all look like they're open. These are used. That's weird.
that is weird. Even now, I'm like, why? Somebody must have gone through a business or their home and replaced all of their doorknobs with new ones, and then donated all of the used ones. Which I guess again, that's going back to that recycling comment that I had a little while ago. That's going to be good news for that, but it's kind of a pain, right? Especially at Savers, it looked like they were brand new. I thought, hey, if they're new, there may be something good. This one, I was surprised I didn't find on the first time buy here, but that one went right into the cart. I love selling that type of workout stuff. I had no idea what this thing was, but I took a quick look at it, tried to figure out like what the brand is, looked it up, and you can see it went right back on the shelf. And you can see I even had it open on my phone so I could look it up. I'm still trying to learn more about the baseball glove category. I've got a few of them, haven't really quite figured it out yet. But hopefully I'll get there. Maybe this summer I'll do a lot more work on getting that category like as part of my niche. We'll see. We'll see. So like I said, even though I didn't have a ton of time today, I actually made pretty good time on my first lap around the store. So that gave me an opportunity to like slow down and go through some of the areas where I don't usually spend a lot of time. I did make sure to head over here to this book section. I do really like to look at this. I don't buy a ton here, but I always enjoy looking through it. You can see that I saw that Harry Potter and the Cursed Child book that was there. Little side tidbit there. I actually did get to go and see that on Broadway a couple of years ago, and it was amazing, you guys. If you do get a chance to see it and you're a Harry Potter fan, it is wonderful. The book, like the play version of it, I guess that's written down in the book, is just doesn't do it justice. And surprisingly, I found a Harry Potter book down here at the bottom. And you can see I flipped through it. The pages are actually in really nice shape, but the dust cover I noticed like is a little bit beat up. This is 100% sellable. They're probably selling for about $7 to $10 individually right now. With that, though, I tend to not buy very many of numbers 5, 6, and 7 because I find them a lot. And I was thinking about it going, is there one on my shelf at home? Do I have more of them? And I do have a few of them here. I'm really going to be looking for right now 1, 2, 3, and 4, probably more like 1, 2, and 3 to try and put together some more bundles. I was surprised when watching this with you guys now. I saw that that was sitting there. This phone was sitting there when I first came by, and I didn't check it out. But opening it up now, I'm noticing that it's brand new. So this is probably going to be going in the cart and probably going to be coming home with me. Again, come back on Monday, see if I ended up buying it, see what I think it's worth. I have seen a few people looking at typewriters recently. I'm not sure if that was a typewriter there or if it was a word processor, but it looks like it's probably a typewriter. It's something I'm probably not going to be too interested in getting into just yet. But there's probably some categories there that you could do well on. So maybe that's something I should look to get into. I'm usually more into this medium-sized stuff where I like the small cameras. I like the little boxed phone there. Even that toy that I have in my cart, the Zoids, is a little bit bigger than I usually like to do. Uh-oh. So putting a few things back here, and what do I find? That caught my eye immediately, and it's a Nintendo DS charger, or maybe a DSi or 3DS charger. And I double checked it. I wanted to make sure that it actually was Nintendo branded, which you can see there it is. That's going to do it this week, you guys. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this content, and please do remember to subscribe if you're interested in seeing more content like this. Thank you very much.